thread. Those who weren't, we'll pick up anyhow. I'll keep it brief, maybe 5-10 minutes, and then we can do questions because we don't have much time. So we can just do it more like discussion maybe. Yesterday we spoke the stories of the man in the well and the story of the buried treasure. Lord Chaitanya spoke in Madhya Lila, chapter 20, to Sri Sanatana Goswami. So we'll pick up from there. And this was based on the lecture of Srila Gurudeva spoken in Alachua, 2003. So Mahaprabhu said there is a buried treasure that is your rightful inheritance. And he explained how to find that. And Gurudeva said it is like a seed that is a potentiality in your constitutional nature. So today I want to talk more about the sadhana, the process. Gurudeva said in the Lachua, in that lecture, that the stage of sadhana before taste has awakened is the most critical stage. At that stage we can give up the practice if we're not in good association and not developing. So I would like to talk about the development of taste today. Mahaprabhu taught the Goswamis, śravaṇam kīrtanam jale koriya sinchan, tabe mulata jai goloka vrindavan. By the water of hearing and chanting, this practice of the names of Krishna, the glories of Krishna, hearing Harikatha, that the creeper of devotion will enter the spiritual sky. It has that potential. Gurudeva time and time again spoke about the stages of bhakti, sakam bhakti, for fruit of desire, niskam bhakti, without any fruit of desire, arop-siddha bhakti, sanga-siddha bhakti, karma-mishra bhakti, jnana-mishra bhakti, and all these stages. But I have, thank you, Prabhu, but I'll take another, no problem. Thank you. Sorry. So śravaṇam kirtan is the main means to advance. Hearing and doing kirtan, which includes japa, which includes congregational chanting, which includes harikatha, speaking and hearing. But swarup-siddha bhakti, which means eternally perfect by its very nature, also includes the practice of smaraṇam, remembrance. And this goes alongside the practice of śravaṇam kirtan. When we hear of the sadhus, who are disciples of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, at that time they would chant 64 rounds a day. And people think, oh, it seems so boring. What are you doing 6, 7, 8 hours? It takes 8 hours, some people 9 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours. How is it possible? Haridas Thakur chanted 3 lakh Harinam a day. So that practice of japa includes the practice of smaraṇam. That's how in our line, they'll be chanting and hours will pass by and they say, oh, another 16 is finished. And then they'll pull one bead down and pull these beads up and then go into another meditation. Oh, another 16 beads finished. The day will go by very easily, not as a chore, because taste is awakened. But for that stage of ruchi to come, taste, śravaṇam kirtan goes along with smaraṇam. That means remembrance. And generally this is known as the topic of Raganuga Bhakti, which is a very high stage. However, in the Gaudiya Math, smaraṇam was included from the very beginning of temple life. What you're aiming towards, you have to have some means to begin. A, B, C, D, then you can make a word. So to reach the highest stage of smaraṇam, which is what leads to Swarup Siddhi, the internal realization of the perfected form in Krishna's service, you must begin somewhere. There's a building block for it. That's why it was taught in the Gaudiya Math since the beginning. The first service is in temple life, is service of the deity and cooking for the deity. And before you cook for the deity or serve the deity, you're taught to do it in your mind. And so this ties nicely to the discussion of the subtle bodies and so forth that Sripad Bhaktivedanta Bhagavad Maharaj was explaining. The idea is that when we're chanting Krishna's name, and this is why it's so important that smaraṇam is not done independently of śravaṇ kirtan. They're all three together. You're speaking Krishna's name and you're hearing śravaṇam. You're speaking Krishna's name and you're doing kīrtanam. They're all three together, but smaraṇam is also an integral part of that practice. When you're chanting Krishna's names, Hare Krishna, with the name Krishna, Krishna is present. He says, I am present with my name. And all my potency is in my name. And my name is more merciful than myself. And yet, there's another side of this śravaṇ kirtan equation. There's another verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita that says, Koti janma jadi śravaṇa kirtan tabutana pai Krishna pade premadan. You can do hearing and chanting for 10 million lives and not get the fruit of Krishna Prem. Gurudeva said, we're at that critical stage, no taste. And our heart is covered with many aparads. Bhaktivinoda Thakur sings, and this song corresponds to the fifth verse, Shiksastakam, and 6th verse. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Aparada phale mama chitta bela vajrasam tu anamina labevakar. I am chanting your name, but because my heart has become hard like a thunderbolt because of my aparad, my offenses, I have no taste for chanting. I have no transformation of the heart, I have no love. And yet, Bhaktivinoda Thakur also says, the way to get past that stage is Harinam. What does it say? Haristane aparad tare Harinam. If you're making aparad, offenses to the Lord, Hari, you are delivered by His names. Tomastane aparad nahi koidan. Only you must avoid Vaishnava aparad, offenses to the Vaishnavas. This cuts out the creeper of devotion. So this is the sadhana. When you're chanting Krishna's name, that's the basis. But we know Krishna is not impersonal. Krishna is personal. The supreme personality of God and not the supreme impersonality. Therefore, the name naturally progresses to the form. If you are properly chanting the name, this will lead to contemplation of the form of Krishna. That's why in the Gaudiya Math, from the beginning, you serve the deity. Why? The physical manifestation, representation, symbol of Krishna's form. And you attach your mind to that form, and when you're chanting the name, you engage your mind. If we look at our beloved founder, Acharya Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, what is his mission called? The International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Consciousness is what we are trying to purify. Cheto dharpana marjanam, to cleanse the mirror of the heart, or our chitta. In other words, unless you engage your mind, how are you going to be thinking of Krishna? That process of beginning to think about Krishna, that's the beginning of smaraṇam. Why would Swami Prabhupada call it Krishna consciousness if your consciousness wasn't meant to be engaged? It's not the International Society for Krishna-related bhakti activities in your body. Now we have to understand that these all go together. The body must be engaged, the mind must be engaged, for the spirit to be engaged, but oftentimes we neglect the engagement of the mind and the proper process to do that. So when we are chanting Krishna's names, Hare Krishna, we begin with the contemplation that, and we were talking about this with our Gurudeva, that Gurudeva didn't establish 108 temples as Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada did. Not that he couldn't, that he did not, so that he could emphasize that, learn to find Krishna as he's seated on the throne of the heart. Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivisto, I am in your heart. 15th chapter Gita, 1861 Gita. Hrideshe Arjuna tishtati, I am seated in your heart. And yet I have neglected you and lost you. There are so many examples of this in scripture. For the sake of brevity, I won't cover them. The means to access that sphere of the heart, which is not a material space, is through the mind. That's why Krishna says, Gita 1865, Man mana bhava. He doesn't say man sarir bhava or sarir mana bhava. To be Krishna conscious, you have to learn to engage your mind. Then, and why is Krishna's name so important? It is Krishna's name that is cleaning the mirror of the heart. Correct? Param vijayate Shri Krishna sankirtanam. This is the sadhana. After Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada left, one deviant branch of his disciples, they created a new line, said, no, need chanting Mahamantra, only smaraṇam. And this same tendency was there in the time of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Adibari, Rupa Kaviraj, and he was rejected by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. And it's mentioned as one of his great accomplishments in every introduction to his books. So chanting Krishna's name, using our body, using our tongue, using our senses is very important. But the mind is the 11th sense. And you must also engage the mind. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna is present with his name, but then we say, Krishna, you say that you are in my heart. How can I perceive you there? I have to go through the man. From the mind, then you access the chitta. Through the chitta, then you access the heart, Rit. And our Gurudev asked Shripad Shamarani Didi, Shriyut Samarani Didi, can you paint my heart? He did not ask, can you build me a big temple? He could have said, dear Shrimati, Gurudev wouldn't call her Shrimati, dear Shamarani Didi, can you build me a big temple? He said, can you paint my heart? And she did that, she accomplished that to his satisfaction, and then he gave that image of his heart to all his disciples, showing us how to worship him in that temple. So this is my understanding of how to develop taste in chanting by using your mind to meditate on Krishna's form. Ambarish Maharaj did this. Ambarish Maharaj wasn't practicing Raganuga Bhakti. Ambarish Maharaj wasn't aspiring to be Manjari of Srimati Radhika. And yet, in the verses, how he followed Ekadashi, what is the first thing that is said? Savai mana Krishna padada vindayo. Engage your mind in contemplating the lotus feet of Krishna. This is general sadhana. Yesterday we heard from Srimad Bhaktivedanta Padmana Maharaj. Very nicely spoken. The story of the Brahmin who would perform Manasi Seva, making beautiful temples and serving the Lord very opulently therein. And Lord Vishnu recognized his devotion, and Lakshmi Devi recognized his devotion and immediately delivered him. That is not Rupanuga Bhakti. See what I'm trying to say here? There's become like this ban on smaraṇam because, this is only for Raganugas. How are you going to progress? How are you going to start? You must begin somewhere. But these processes go together. So I want to mention two more things because we don't have so much time. The best limbs of bhakti, and these are mentioned by Mahaprabhu in these discussions. Later they're mentioned and made very clear by Rupa Goswami. Rupa Goswami says these 5 limbs are most important. Mahaprabhu also mentions that. So it's not only engaging the mind. What we have an issue where generally we latch onto one thing and think that's everything. What Rupa Goswami said the main 5 limbs is, what is that? Bhagavat Śravaṇam, first sadhu sangha, good association. But we heard very nicely from Padmanabha Maharaj yesterday, beautifully, what is the glory of Mahat Sangha? Listen, then follow. And the example of the Brahmin who was delivered by the mercy of Lord Vishnu and Lakshmi is that he followed one instruction after meeting a sadhu once. Narad Muni, 4 months as a boy, was with sadhus in Chaturmasya. By that he got liberation, saw the Lord. Dhruva Maharaj, how long was he with Narad Muni? He got the mantra from Narad Muni, went practiced 6 months, he had the darshan of the Lord. Prahlad Maharaj had association of Narad Muni in the womb of his mother. We don't hear that he had Narad Muni association after his birth. From the womb he had sadhu sangha. Lava matra sadhu sangha. An 11th of a second is enough. But you must follow. And in order to continue to follow, you must continue to be in sadhu sangha. So sadhu sangha, then nam kirtan. Sadhu sangha, then bhagavat śravaṇam. Sadhu sangha, then dham vas. Reside in a holy place. Are we in Mathura Vas now? And then sadhu sangha, shraddhaya Sri Murtir Sevan. With faith, serve the deity of the Lord. Residing in the Dham, it's described that you should be in the holy place directly or by your mind. Or you should be in a temple or an ashram or a holy place. Even your home as a householder, you have deities there, so it becomes like a holy place. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Jedine grihe, grihete golokavai. So these 5 limbs are practiced externally with your external body and senses, and you perform devotional service with your external body and senses, so that your internal reality and your external reality can harmonize. Why? Because the mind is influenced by your association. Because your mind is influenced by your activities. Therefore, with your body and senses, you engage in devotional activities in a good environment that can improve. Mahaprabhu said, Cheto Darpana Marjanam. Purify your consciousness so that you can see Krishna within. Otherwise, you can go to 1,000 temples and see 1,000 deities. If you cannot recognize Krishna within the core of your heart, then you'll have to visit another 1,000 temples until you can. Taste will not awaken. There's so many verses about this. I'd like to speak about our specific aspiration in Raganuga Rupanuga Bhakti. There's a beautiful verse of Narottam Das Thakur, and we mentioned this in the end yesterday. You have to create your inner reality to such a degree of purification that you can see it so clearly that will result in your transference at the time of death to Goloka. Swami Prabhupada said, back home, back to Godhead. So how to go back home, back to Godhead? Therefore he created the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Lord Chaitanya's name means consciousness, Chaitanya. His sannyas name is Krishna Chaitanya, Krishna consciousness, not bodily consciousness. You are not this body. Yes? Narottam Das Thakur says, what you conceive of in the stage of practice, and you perfect it, that you will achieve in the stage of perfection after giving up this body. You must achieve Swarup Siddhi before you achieve Vastu Siddhi. And that's only possible through Śravaṇam, Kirtan, and smaraṇam. 3 together. That's why I mentioned yesterday at the end why it's so important to take shelter of your own particular perfected guru. Bhagavat Parampara, Bhagavat Acharya, Guru, the liberated soul. Because for Rupanuga Bhakti, for that level of intimate service to Srimati Radhika, without guidance and grace, it is not possible to get perfection. And there's a lecture where Gurudeva says, after you reach the stage of a Shakti, no more sadhana. That means you continue doing sadhana, but it's not your individual effort that takes you to Goloka Vrindavan. This is what it means there. That we know there's a balance between effort and grace. But it said effort is just you to discipline your mind, to do the sadhana, to reach the certain stage where you have firm attachment. Where is that firm attachment? Gurudeva said after you reach the stage of a Shakti, that means firm attachment. Your perfection is no longer dependent on your sadhana. It's only waiting for the grace of that perfected associate of Krishna. So therefore Narottam Das Thakur says, when will my Guru Pada Padma, Lokanath Das Goswami, bring me and offer me into the service of Sri Rupa Manjari? So we are aspiring Rupanugas, but to be a Rupanuga, follower of Rupa Manjari, does not mean that it's possible to achieve that without the grace of someone who is themselves a perfected maidservant of Srimati Radhika. That's why the Bhagavad Guru is necessary, the pure devotee Guru. Narottam Das Thakur is not saying, take that I pray. See, he wrote the song Shri Rupa Manjari Pada, and we sing this, the acharyas sing this before they leave this world. But every morning in our temples, and every day here in our festivals, what do we sing? Are we singing Shri Rupa Manjari Pada? What do we sing? Shri Guru Charana Padma. That it is the chief of the maidservants of Srimati Radhika is Shri Rupa Manjari. And that every Gaudiya Guru who is helping the disciples enter into that perfection will ultimately lead you into her shelter and say, oh, I recommended this person, they're ready now. I'm giving them my mercy. So, my understanding of this is that the bona fide method of smaraṇam is not to meditate on Rupa Manjari, Rati Manjari, Srimati Radhika, Radha Krishna. It's meditate on Guru Pada Padma. That's why it said we have many Shiksha Gurus. But ultimately that Guru who will bring you into the service of Srimati Radhika will be one. That will be your Bhagavad Guru. Maybe Diksha, maybe Shiksha, maybe Bhajan Shiksha. No guarantee. Vijay Kumar Javadharma is not necessarily Diksha Guru. No guarantee. But that mercy will come from one associate, and that has to be Cheto Dharpana Marjan, has to be realized in that heart. Through the mind, through the consciousness, you can enter that and serve there. That's why Gurudeva said, here's my heart. There's very beautiful meditations about this. We don't have time, and this is for everyone's own sadhana. But one thing Gurudeva mentioned about Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, which is very beautiful, he emphasized that his glories are not limited to the temples he built or the books they distributed, and people got offended by this. He said the ultimate glory of Swami Prabhupada is that he can directly lead you to the spiritual world. And that he is serving in the spiritual world. In the same way, our Gurudeva is helping us focus on that. That outside life is a combination of happiness and suffering, but ultimately it is where the soul is in bondage. Because we are spirit, the soul is spirit, and yet we are suffering in the material world. So therefore it said, by the mind you can deliver yourself, or by the mind you are bound. This is Bhagavad Gita. It said the mind is the cause of your liberation, or the mind is the cause of your bondage. So therefore we begin this practice, and we pray to Guru Pada Padma. Not only is this for anyone living in the temple, like I mentioned, those who are serving the Didi, those who are cooking. If you study Archan Dipika, it's said that this is actually for every initiated devotee. Pratam Shriman Navadvipe Dvinetram Dribhuja Guru. That first you meditate on Guru Pada Padma in Gaur Lila. And the mercy of this is that, one more thing I'll mention, is that smaraṇam is translated as what? Remembrance. You could call it meditation, but they're very closely connected. The reason I'm emphasizing this is mental concoction won't lead you to Goloka Vrindavan. Gurudeva would say your Gopi Bhav. Gopi Bhav is not, it's Gopi Bhav or Gopi Bhav. Gopi means cauliflower in Hindi. You said, oh, Gopi, 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 you're just going to become a cauliflower in your next life. You're saying Gopi, 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 Gopi. Gopi, 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 Gopi. That's not the process. Smaraṇam means, I remember Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, my Guru Pada Padma. This is a bona fide. And I meditate upon Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj for disciples of Swami Prabhupada, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. I remember him. He is Gaur's associate, Mahaprabhu's associate. Every morning I remember Guru Pada Padma. He is the associate of Mahaprabhu. When people ask, oh, is this form the form we will see in Gaur Lila? This form is even more important right now, because it's the form that came to save us. And without connecting to that form of that Guru Pada Padma who came to save us, what is our hope to leap into the pastimes of Gauranga Mahaprabhu? Then we just become Sahajya, imitator. First you perfect your smaraṇam of Gurudev. Then he will say, one day he will say, oh, I will hold onto your hand and I will show you Gauranga Mahaprabhu. I will show you Nityananda Prabhu. I will show you Swarup Damodar Gadadhar Pandit. Who else has taken that responsibility? And I'll relate this to a beautiful example of our Param Gurudev. Param Gurudev at the Samadhi place of his Guru Pada Padma Bhakti Siddhanta Prabhupada, weeping and weeping, unable to finish the name of his Guru. He said, it is certain that I was there in the time of Mahaprabhu. I am a conditioned soul. It was certain that I was there in the time of Ram, of Krishna, of all the great acharyas, and yet they did not deliver me. It is only my Guru Pada Padma. And we mentioned 10, 15 slokas in like a minute, just references. We don't need to go there. But this is our way. And it's funny, Maharaj gave a near-death experience kata at the end. So yesterday's class I ended with, I'm not going to mention the family member and get into those details, a brother-in-law, so that's enough. That by serving Prabhupada's murti, not even Prabhupada's physical, he did not even have that physical connection, but by serving the deity form of Swami Prabhupada, when he had the near-death experience, it was Prabhupada who met him, and Prabhupada who said, I can take you on the path to salvation. Guru, the liberated soul Guru, is the one who takes a contract with Krishna to deliver you. Therefore we say, Janme Janme Prabhu say, I am your servant life after life. Guru takes a contract to deliver you from material existence for the liberated soul. No one else has taken responsibility. Krishna could have saved us. Why not? Why am I in Maya? Krishna, why am I in Maya? You are existing eternally, I am existing eternally. You said in the Gita, never was the time I did not exist, you did not exist, all these kings exist. So why am I suffering in Maya since countless lives? Why am I suffering here? If you love me, why didn't you save me? Okay. Your mercy, your love came in the form of Gurudev. I accept that as you. And that you do not violate my free will, so really I did not want to be saved. I wanted to enjoy your material reality of illusion. That's why it's called illusion. Because the soul is not in material life. It's only attached to it. The reflection of the material world is in our consciousness because we want to see that. And only when we cleanse our hearts and learn to find, in that sacred space through our sadhana, then we can go higher. That's why yesterday I mentioned at the end that śravaṇam, kīrtanam, smaraṇam, the three together, that's how you gradually go from the material reality to the space of the Atma, the heart, Hridaya. And then from there, when you achieve perfection in that space, not the physical space. Perfection isn't achieved in the physical space. That's in the space of contemplation. That is where Swarup Siddhi is possible. Then, once that is fully realized, and all the arts are cleansed, then you can achieve Goloka Vrindavan. Go Premanandi Hari Hari Go. Vanchakalpatrivasti Kripasindhi Vevicha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Gurudeva Ki Jai.
Talk some more. I have to look at it. I don't have a punch for it.
Okay, thank you, everybody. So here we have one of the main services we're doing. Oh, maybe I have 1 minute, 2 minutes?
Sure, no problem.
Okay.
It's gonna take a minute to
Here's my pitch.
Well, that's what we've been waiting for.
All right? Our sadhana is very important. Gurudev said everywhere he went, I heard this from Jag Maharaj all the time, Jag Mohan Maharaj. Said he would be in festivals with Gurudev, and Gurudev said, I see the same faces. Where are the new people? Where are the new devotees? So I have a question. Who's here to this festival for the second time, third time, fourth, any times more than one? Who's in here more than once? Who's here for the first time? Jai Haribo. All glories to all of us, right? Except for me. Anyway, all glories to all the devotees. Gurudev said, I want to see this preaching continue. Gurudev said, I want you to preach like in the time of Swamiji Srila Prabhupada. The reason the preaching is difficult, many camps, yes? Many camps. I'm a camp, you're a camp, many camps, there's a campground, yes? Your Braj is a campground. Right, everyone's staying here in the campground. So many camps, no cohesive mission. Our mission is this personality, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj. Okay? We can agree? So we're trying our best, we're publishing his Harikatha. Who has the time to read, I don't have the time to read at all. I'm trying, picking here and there. What we're doing now is we're printing up to 2010. We expect it to be over 250 volumes or so. From that, we want to churn the essence of each year, of each lecture, of each place. What is the essence of all the new Brajas? Churn it and churn and churn and then distribute it. But if we can all agree on one person, can we all agree on Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj? I am bogus. This person is bogus. That person is bogus. But can we all agree on Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj? Okay? He came here. He was very kind, he is very merciful, he is very sweet. He brought us to Vrindavan. He said he would keep us in his pocket and forever, right? So if we can all agree on him, then we can all spread his glories and his mission can prosper. Right? For the mission to expand, everyone has to do their sadhana and also prachar. So to effectively preach, like in the time of Swamiji, which is what Gurudev said, preach like in the time of Swamiji. How did they preach like in the time of Swamiji? By the time you joined the mob, within 1-2 weeks, you were preaching. And you were bringing people to Srila Prabhupada. And we can say, oh, but Gurudev is not here. How can we do that? We cannot preach about Gurudev, he is no longer here. So I have one very humble suggestion and question. Has ISKCON stopped preaching in 1977? Is ISKCON stopped preaching? Has ISKCON built any new temples since 1977? Have there been any new devotees joining since 1977? So every one of us has the chance to be a Vardhma Pradarshaka Guru for Srila Gurudev. Okay? Let the rest work out itself. You need to find a Guru and take mantra. But in our mission, we can all agree on one person. Who is it? Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We can all agree on that. Institution, name, label, blah, blah, blah. I was in Kansas City, then Las Vegas, and I came up with a new one. Jag Maharaj likes this one. He was like, ask this, ask that. I said, you know what? Yada, yada, yada. Blah, blah, blah. Yada, yada, yada. And so on and so forth. Figure out the details later. Right? Who is the founder of Acharya of ISKCON? Simple. Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada is the founder Acharya of the International Society of Krishna Consciousness for as long as it will exist. 10,000 years at least. That will never change. Ever. The moment it changed, the sons and the grandsons and the great-great-grandsons and daughters of Swami Prabhupada will fight tooth and nail to keep the integrity of their mission alive. And every disciple in that lineage who is their gurus will say, yes, and if I am bona fide and qualified, I will offer you to my Gurudev, who will offer you to his Gurudev, to Swami Prabhupada, who will offer you then to Krishna's associates. Whatever rasa you aspire for. It can be Vatsalya, Dasya, Sakya, Madhurya, Ayodhya Dham, whatever Dham. Whatever the level of the personality, they can give it any level. Where's our Dinabandhu Prabhu? So anyhow, if we can agree on this, we can agree on everything else. The rest is details. I'm telling you, the rest is details. Camps don't matter. How many camps are there in Christianity? Okay? It doesn't matter. Am I preaching for this person? Imagine you go, we went to a place in Kansas City. I don't have time to talk about the different camps and the groups. I only have time to talk about Srila Bhakti Swami Maharaj. You understand? We did a program on the way here at Kansas City, 30 new people. I don't have time to talk about Sangha politics. There's this camp and this camp and this camp. None of those matter. The heart will go where the heart is meant to be. Give it freedom. Give people freedom and say, if you're interested in Radha Dasyam, there's a great personality who showed that path, who is perfected in that path, who can lead you on that path, who traveled the world and showed that path. They can bring you to that. Take their shelter. We are Rupa Nugas, and we pray, Gurudev, when will that day come that you will hold my hand and lead me into the service of Sri Rupa Manjari? She is not thinking of you. Rupa Manjari is not thinking, what are you doing right now? But Gurudev is. Rupa Manjari is only thinking, what is the need of Srimati Radhika at this very instant? That's the only thing Rupa Manjari thinks of. Why? Therefore, Rupa Goswami and Rupa Manjari is Priya Swarupe, Daita Swarupe, Prema Swarupe, Sahajavi Rupe. They become Tadatmik. Why? Because her only concern is that moment's desire of Srimati Radhika. If Radharani says, think of this conditioned soul and help them, then maybe she'll think. Not without Radharani's. But Gurudev has made a contract. I will deliver you. He is our Father. So we remember Him, we pray to Him. He is our founder Acharya. And 10,000 Shiksha Gurus can help us in our practice of sadhana bhakti and encourage us in our Guru Bhakti. And without Guru Bhakti, every problem in society, in a spiritual society, can be traced back to either Vaishnava aparad or lack of Guru Bhakti. Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. Vancha Kalpadurvasi Kripa Sindhu Vevacha, kīrtanam Pavane Dvameshma. Hare Krishna.